Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen divorces me and demands to still use my car. After that, am I the jerk for not removing the Disney items from my house? And after that, you refuse to recheck our scores? Fine, have fun with unemployment. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to take someone's car. Unless it's a DeLorean. So please smash that like button. And subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen divorces me and demands to still use my car. My ex-wife, who's 37 female, and I, 31 male, were together for almost 6 years and have 2 daughters, who are 5 and 7. She filed for divorce because she wasn't happy anymore with me, and we've now been divorced for almost 2 years. It was very difficult for me, especially not being able to see my daughters all the time. But we were able to arrange a 50-50 split custody agreement, and I also pay court-ordered child support since I earn significantly more than her. But looking back, I realized that divorce was the right decision, and the divorce has motivated me to pursue my career more and focus on my physical health. It has definitely paid off. I'm in the most comfortable position financially that I've ever been in and have been in the best shape of my life. So I guess in a way, the divorce was a start for me to reach my full potential. My ex-wife and I have a good co-parenting relationship, but nothing more. I've been doing great, so the last thing I want is to have my ex entangled in my life more than she already is. I only communicate with her about the kids and shut down any attempt of her trying to involve herself in my life that doesn't involve our kids. My ex recently called me and told me that she hasn't been doing great financially and that she has completely burned through her savings to pay rent and bills on her own to the point where she had to sell her car a few months ago. She said that she's been using public transportation to get to work and pick the kids up from school, which she says completely stresses her out because it's an almost 1-hour bus ride to her work, making her late a lot and having no time to properly do anything besides work and picking up and taking care of the kids when she has them. I currently own 2 cars, one that I use on a daily basis to go to work and run errands. I bought a more expensive car about a year ago, and I pretty much only use it when I'm going out on weekends or out on dates. Knowing that I have 2 cars, my ex asked me if she could use one of my cars to help her out so that she can have a life besides work and kids. I told her that her being able to have a life besides the kids has nothing to do with me and is not my responsibility. I told her that the kids are my only responsibility towards her and that anything else in her life is her problem since I'm not her husband anymore. She told me that I'm insensitive and that being terrible isn't going to lead to anything. I just told her that the financial security that I provide isn't something she has the right to anymore, and that she has to deal with her own problems now. Am I the jerk? Edit. Everything our kids need is within walking distance of my ex's place. It's her job that requires her to take those hour-long bus rides. I'm not gonna leave a judgment, but you sound so bitter. Maybe get some therapy. She's the mother of your kids. Your job as a father should be to make their lives easier. You sound like a jerk, and I can only guess why she divorced you. You'd be helping your kids, which is what you should do. And be careful of alienating your kids from their mother because your bank account is larger. That would be considered mistreatment, and courts don't like that. Be a decent human being. I'll vote no jerks here, purely on technicality, because technically you're right. You don't have to let your ex borrow your car or let her have any more emotional space in your life beyond your kids. But I don't really understand how you don't see that your ex being miserable will have a negative impact on your kids. Your problems aren't mine is quite the ignorant notion towards someone who's raising your kids 50% of the time. There will always be an entanglement. Also, to me, it doesn't sound like you're being completely honest about being in a better place than when you were married. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so unempathetic towards your ex-wife. You're the jerk. You're not responsible for her, no, and I don't think you should give her your car or be responsible for her. But don't forget your kids here. Even if the situation is entirely because your wife is terrible, don't you want to be good to your kids? What you should be thinking here is, what can I do to make things better for my kids? Which may or may not involve you doing something for your ex. You can't say you're 50-50 parenting when you don't give a hoot about them the other 50% of the time. Have a grown-up conversation. How can you both parent your kids better? You're the jerk. This post comes across as very smug and cringy. You spent half the post talking yourself up. What has your fitness got to do with anything? Basically, she wounded your ego by leaving you, and now you get to lord it over her financially. I doubt many of these women you're pursuing would be very impressed if they knew the mother of your kids is struggling to survive, even more so that you have an extra car on the driveway whilst they have none. Do you want your daughters to look back at their childhood and remember the disparity in both your living situations? Lavishly at yours and scraping by at their mother's? Knowing that you go on expensive dates and have a flashy car to peacock them around in? Or do you want them to look back and remember you gave their mother a car so they could get to school and extra money so they could buy groceries? Personally, I'd choose the high road, but it's up to you. Not the jerk. Reverse the genders and everyone would be calling husband a bum and claiming wife should have full custody. Sorry Reddit is being so Reddit on you today. Congrats on improving your life. You deserve it. Am I the jerk for not removing the Disney items from my house? I'm 35, female. My husband, who's 38, and I are what you would call Disney adults. We used to work for the parks in college and met there. For us, it has sentimental value as well as being something we both loved from our childhood. Now, we are conscious to not be those Disney adults. We can hold conversations outside of the movies and parks. We both work well-paying jobs unrelated to the company. We have other hobbies and interests as well. Our son isn't big on Disney, and we're cool with that. It's just something that we enjoy, as well as our daughters. We nurture all of our kids' hobbies and interests. We also don't blow all of our money on this stuff. I know I may sound overly defensive, but we get a lot of comments from people who don't know us well. Anyway, we live in a renovated farmhouse on a bit of land that includes a barn that we finished off, with hopes to make it a guest house one day. In the meanwhile, we've had a relative get married here, and it was gorgeous. Now my sister, who's 28, wants to get married on our property, and we were all for it. Everything's been planned for months, and the wedding is in June. It's set to be outside completely, but if it rains, we can move the party into the barn. The only reason a guest would have to go in our house is to use the bathroom. We have 2 on the first floor. The only Disney items are Winnie the Pooh hand towels. I told my sister I'd replace them with regular ones. Wedding space has no Disney items. However, she wants me to take down everything Disney on the first floor of my home, as guests will see it. We have a lot of Disney items: pictures, paintings, blankets, Funko Pops, decorations, figurines, dishware, etc. And a lot of it is subtle or vintage, but you can still tell it's Disney. 1. This would be a massive undertaking. It's not as simple as shoving stuff in a closet. We'd have to pack it up and find a place to store it. The sheer amount would require at least 2 hours of packing, not to mention storage and unpacking after. 2. It's ridiculous to me. Who cares if people see? She says it looks tacky and she doesn't want people to remember her wedding for that. I told her no. We're decorating the outside and barn as she wants. We're letting her use our property for free, which she keeps bragging about to friends as it's saving them a ton. When my husband and I stood firm, she whined to our parents, who told us to grow up and take it down. Not the jerk. Your sister doesn't want her wedding to be associated with Disney? Your sister wants full control of the space and decoration. I have an idea. She should rent her own venue. Seriously, enforce your boundaries and say that's as far as you're willing to go. If she wants to change everything, she needs to rent a different venue. She wanted to get married at your property. She knows you have a lot of Disney items. She can take it or leave it, especially as said items are in an area restricted from guests. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. She's making unreasonable demands on your home. Who cares if you decorated your home with Disney, dinosaurs, or duckies? It's your home. You're already doing her a huge favor by letting her use the barn and property for free. She's being a choosing beggar right now. If the Disney decorations are that much of a bother to her, then maybe she should find a new location, though I'm sure she wouldn't want that because other venues won't be free or so accommodating to her demands. You refuse to recheck our scores? Fine. Have fun with unemployment. Context. I've been working in this health insurance company for the past 3 years. I recently took another position with better hours and pay, but this time it was to coordinate appointments with doctors and specialists. My metrics were always great, and the reason I was selected for the new position was due to my metrics. This has been brewing since October of 22. We used to have a coworker, let's call her Karen. Karen is this older lady that thinks she knows it all. Everything she says is right, and she often blames everything on other people. Typical Karen activities. The first time I interacted with her was back in October when I messaged her via our work chat because she messed up prior authorization for a patient and the MD office was calling to have the person that created the authorization fix the issue. The conversation went like this. Me. Hi, good morning. I have an MD office calling requesting to speak to you in regards to a prior authorization that looks incomplete. Karen. And you couldn't help them? This is a call center. You're supposed to help. and I don't even know who that MD is. Me. You're correct, this is a call center. However, you created the authorization, and as you know, I can't fix authorizations that weren't created by me. And also, they would like to speak to you specifically. I also provided her the patient record number and the MD office phone number. Karen. Well, I'm not available to talk to them. Okay. I went back to the call, and I specifically told the MD what she said, including that she's not available to talk, but hopefully she will call them back to fix the issue. I also sent a message to my direct supervisor with a screenshot of our conversation, and I simply said, "This is unprofessional, especially in an environment like ours." Fast forward to the start of the year, and Karen took a position with our quality assurance department due to them being understaffed. I used to work in the quality assurance department, and I knew the ins and outs and knew she would be assigned to our department since she already had experience. Context: our quality assurance gives us scores from 100, and if we miss something, we get points deducted. Example: miss HIPAA, minus 20 points. Inaccurate info, minus 10 points. Don't advise people for our survey, minus 5, etc. Come January, we get our first bad score in 3 years of the company. It was a 56%. I was astonished because this is the first time I had been given a bad score. But I also make sure the score was correct. Our company gives us the choice to listen to our calls just to be sure, or just in case the quality agent made a mistake. I listened to my call and I did everything right. I completed the information, provided good service, and I asked if the patient needed assistance with anything else and provided closing script. On the quality note, it was stated that I didn't offer any help and that I didn't even complete HIPAA. I sent it to my supervisor, and he stated that when I offered the closing script, the patient asked something, and I replied and disconnected the call. Okay. I still said the closing script, and his question and my answer lasted literally 5 seconds. My supervisor still went to her and managed to fix the score to 95% because she felt like I didn't provide a survey. If anyone's worked in a call center, you know that metrics are everything, and one bad metric will quickly not get you your monthly bonuses, and on top of that, management will go off on us because if we don't achieve the metrics, they also don't get their bonuses. I took screenshots of our conversation, saved it in a file, then I sent it to my personal email since I know our IT department is known for deleting anything that's not a working system or appropriate. Fast forward 3 days ago, April 18th. I had received several scores ranging from 85% to 80% and only one 100% score. The 100 score, I received it because Karen wasn't the one who audited my call, and the other person found everything all right. But the 85 looked fishy. Since the first thing you see is the patient name, I quickly remembered the call because the person was funny and I enjoyed the call. I listened to the call, and of course, I did everything perfectly. However, Karen put on the system that she deducted 10 points for not telling the patient that he had a copay for the visit and another 5 points for extending the call. What? I contacted my supervisor and let him know of what happened. However, I didn't receive a response. I was confused, so I sent a message to a coworker who told me they've been having the same issue with Karen, with inaccurate audits and the department not achieving their monthly goals due to it. Since my supervisor didn't reply, I did what everyone does when management doesn't reply. I messaged Karen, and I sent her a message that just said, "Hey, I have some inaccurate audits and I'd like to know if you could recheck them since I listened to the calls and everything was done perfectly." The reply I received was, "All audit scores are final and it cannot be appealed." I knew it was a lie since I worked with quality before and I knew that it could be changed. I replied, "You know I worked in that department for 1 year and I know it can be rechecked and reversed, right?" Karen said, "Your previous position is irrelevant in this matter. If you don't like the score, you can go ahead and submit a complaint to my supervisor." I replied, "Okay, have a good day," knowing that her supervisor knows me really well. Cue malicious compliance. I didn't just create one formal complaint, I created one complaint for each time she scored me incorrectly. Not only that, but I also told my 19 coworkers what she said and advised them that if they would like their scores overturned and rechecked, they could send a complaint to her supervisor, but only to send one complaint per bad score. Also, to let you guys know, we don't get one audit a month. No, we get audited 10 times per month. In the span of 24 hours, her supervisor must have received around 200 complaints from our department complaining for one person, Karen. The first complaint was mine, with Karen's conversation saying that all decisions are final and she can't recheck or overturn, and also saying to submit a complaint to her supervisor. Her supervisor sent me a message saying that they will evaluate all of the complaints and scores and we will be receiving a message. That was on Monday, April 17th. Tuesday, we didn't get any messages. Wednesday, I couldn't go to work due to my illness. But today, April 20th, I received a message from her supervisor stating that my scores had been reviewed and properly scored, and also stating that my supervisor will be under investigation because any complaint should be submitted to his manager, and he never submitted anything, and that the employee has been terminated. But the best part is logging into our chat and seeing Karen's profile with no pictures, and instead of her name, it only said unknown user. The morale of our group is better, and I hope we don't have issues again. Am I the jerk for selling my daughter's car? I, 56 male, have a son who's 28 and a daughter who's 22. I like both of my kids equally. However, they are different individuals with different lives, so I help them based on their needs. My son did not do well in high school and went to a community college and decided it was not for him after a semester and went to trade school and eventually settled on HVAC. He had issues sticking to things, so as a reward, when he became certified in HVAC, I bought him a brand new truck as a gift. My daughter got into a good college out of state and was always more academically minded. When she was about to finish high school, it came to a surprise to me that she had taken it for granted that I would also get her a new car, even though I never said that. I explained that there would be no need for a college girl in a big city to have a car. She then asked if I could help with tuition. I did not pay for trade school either, so I declined. Eventually, she seemed down, so I offered to buy a used car in my name, and she could use it for a while until I decided to sell it, but she would have to maintain it. She seemed really happy with that, so we got an old '99 BMW for really cheap. The body was in good condition, but the engine and transmission needed work, and it needed painting. She did the essential fixes first, but then slowly did unnecessary ones, even though I never asked for that, and repainted most of the car and had the interior detailed. When she came back for a visit this week after finishing her finals, I decided it was time to sell the car and listed it. She seems upset with me, even though we had agreed to it, and I never asked her to repaint the car. She said she thought I was going to sell it much later when it rusted or something. She also says I can sell it more expensive because of her fixes, but the reality is I got the car just before lockdown, and used cars cost a lot more since, and that's why I cannot sell it for more. I offered to pay her back for half of the paint work. Am I the jerk here? Edit. Okay, seems people think it was wrong, but my son only got the truck after schooling, and my daughter has not finished school yet. I have not thought of her graduation gift yet, but the car is only listed, and I will think about it and reconsider. Edit 2. Okay, I'll let her keep it and delist it for now. My plan was always to sell it, as I feel like 90s BMWs in good shape are desirable, but she seems attached to the car now. Okay, so your son gets an expensive new truck and your daughter got an old used car? Paid for the repairs on the car herself? So you see nothing wrong with punishing success and rewarding failure? You're the jerk. Edit. For all the comments I'm getting, I never said HVAC was failing. Bribing the son to finish is. This post makes me so sad. Of course you're the jerk. And helping based on their needs is you knowing that you're favoring your son and treating your daughter horribly. You bought a car really cheap, then your daughter paid for the engine and transmission work, painted it, detailed it, and maintained it, and now you want to sell her car? After you bought your son a brand new truck? I would never speak to you again. Wow, you're the jerk. It's like you're punishing her for her success or something. And to pay for only half the paint, etc., after she paid for all of the essential fixes too? Yes, you're the jerk. Am I the jerk for saying, wow, I don't like you, to my friend's boyfriend? This happened a few weeks ago, and I probably am the jerk, so I came here to check. I was at the mall with my best friend when another friend, let's call her S, noticed us and invited us over. S was with her boyfriend at the time and wanted to introduce us, and since we enjoy meeting new people, we obliged. It did not take long before we realized that her boyfriend was, let's just say, strange. He refused to talk to us, giving one-word responses to everything, and when the topic went towards things we enjoyed or liked, he'd just go, I don't care. It was disheartening to say the least. I try my best generally to include everyone in a conversation, but he honestly refused to participate even when the topic was his interests or relationship with S. The thing that really broke the camel's back, for me at least, was that he made S talk for him, and not in a, I don't know what to say, so please take the reins way, but in an almost, they are beneath me way. S tried her best to accommodate, but there were things she couldn't respond to. Like what were boyfriend's favorite video games and stuff like that. After around 30 minutes of trying to either ignore boyfriend and discuss other things or let him speak only for him to refuse to, I just didn't care anymore and went, "Wow, I don't like you." And he once again just ignored everyone, even when Esh tried to defend him. The whole thing ended up just being awkward, and afterwards, Esh didn't talk to me as much. It all came to a head at my best friend's birthday when Esh tried to confront me and said I was a jerk for being mean to her boyfriend. I was most likely rude, I agree, though I genuinely was out of things to say at that point. So, am I the jerk? Edit. I spoke to S and friend, and from what we know, the boyfriend is not autistic. Me, S, and friend are diagnosed with ASD, but if boyfriend is, he isn't diagnosed or doesn't know it. Also, we are all adults, since people asked. Not the jerk. Sometimes people just don't like each other. At least you are honest. I'd give him a pass for social anxiety or something akin to that, but "I don't care" is a horrific response to someone trying to befriend you. Not the jerk. Sometimes you just have to call a spade a spade. S is just blind because she likes him. Who knows why? You are more objective. You tried to be nice and engaged him into conversation, but he acted like a giant jerk. Might as well say the truth than being forced to spend time with him again. Honestly, everyone sucks here. You really didn't have to say anything to a person you've just met. You could have just ended the conversation and moved on. He didn't have to act like a jerk, but it kind of seems to me that he didn't want to talk to you from the beginning. Like the two of them were likely on a date. He was intending to have some personal time with his girlfriend and was super not excited when there were suddenly other people involved. And if my assumptions are correct, then S also sucks for inviting you to join them in the first place. I agree, this is probably what was going on. He didn't sign up to spend half an hour being interrogated by girlfriend's friends. He was just trying to enjoy a date. But that's life. People might join in a social setting or a group that you're part of who you don't know. Unless they're being obnoxious, you be polite and converse with them. Don't be so obtuse to think it's socially acceptable to sit and huff and be blatantly rude towards them because you don't want them there or you don't know them. You're the jerk. Dude was on a date and you wouldn't stop interrogating him. Why do you need to ask him what his favorite video game is? If someone isn't in the mood to talk to you, then you accept that instead of rudely telling them that you don't like them. The world does not revolve around you, and you do not get to demand that someone talk to you. He wanted to be with his girlfriend, not you, and you crashed their date. Am I the jerk for letting my husband leave and ruining mother-in-law's family photos? I, 27 female, have been married to my husband, 29 male, for 5 years. My husband has a big family, 4 sisters and a brother, and they are all very close. Sister-in-laws visit mother-in-law at least once a week and help out with things like house cleaning and gardening. We visit them a couple times a month, and my mother-in-law calls my husband at least twice a week. I've never really had a problem with my in-laws other than mother-in-law and grandmother-in-law being a bit cold to me when we got engaged because they wanted my husband to settle down with someone who was Korean. But I like to think that they've warmed up to me. So today we went over to my mother-in-law's house since we were told the whole family would be there for a nice dinner. We dressed up, as mother-in-law expects when she says it will be a nice get-together. We were visiting with his siblings and their spouses, but mother-in-law announced that she had a photographer coming over and she wanted to do family photos in the garden. We were taken aback as we hadn't been told about any photos, but we went with it. It's not unusual for mother-in-law to spring things on us. So we socialized until the photographer got there. Then everyone started going out back to get ready for the photos. Mother-in-law asked to speak to me for a moment, so my husband went out without me. I figured she'd tell me to change my hair or take off my lipstick, as it's common for her to micromanage my appearance. Instead, she told me she wanted me to wait inside. I was taken aback and asked if it was just going to be the immediate family. She said no, she was going to hang these up in her house and wanted to make sure they gave off a good image. I asked her what that meant, and she said she wanted the pictures to have serious family members in it, and I should just wait inside. I just nodded and left for the bathroom before I started crying. Sister-in-law too had brought her boyfriend of 7 months, and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law 4 had brought their spouses of 4 and 2 years, who I assumed were going to be in the pictures. I tried to hold it together in the bathroom. After about 10 minutes, I heard my husband calling for me. I come out to find him storming through the house, mother-in-law chasing after him with sister-in-law 1, both shouting in Korean, and we left with his mother yelling at us. He didn't talk on the way home. He shuts down when he's angry, so I don't know what happened. But my sister-in-laws and mother-in-law are messaging me that I ruined the family photos and that I've broken my mother-in-law's heart as she was dreaming of these photos of her beloved kids. Even my youngest sister-in-law, who's usually chummy with me, is saying I should have convinced my husband to go back. I don't know what to do. I've tried so hard to get them to like me. Her not wanting me in the photos hurt, but maybe I should have told him to just finish the photos. I did nothing to try and stop him, and I feel bad that I was just crying like a baby and couldn't even talk to my husband. Am I the jerk for crying and letting my husband just leave? Not the jerk. His mother is a real jerk, and good on him for getting upset about it. Though he should work on communicating better with you when he's upset, that said, he should be upset. His mother was belittling you. His family is basically saying, "We told you that you suck, that we don't like you, and we're complete jerks to you. But it's all your fault because you didn't tell him to stay after he got mad at us for being jerks." The Mouse Story. It was autumn 2019, shortly after the first frost, and our cat brings us a mouse. We take a picture and report to maintenance. They check out the apartment, see no mouse droppings, set a trap, and tell us to let them know if it happens again. A few nights later, we get another mouse. And then the next night, we get 2 more mice. We call maintenance. They claim to have found the issue behind the stove. They patch it and leave. We get another mouse. They claim there's an issue by our washer, dryer, and they patch that. Then there are more mice. We request a professional exterminator daily, and they refuse. Eventually, maintenance gets sick of our calls. We never got a mouse in our trap, and there's no mouse droppings. The only evidence of mice is our pictures of 16 mice with our cat over time. So the maintenance guy comes over with a clever idea. He says next time we get a mouse, we need to keep it and bring it to the main office. They can study it and figure out where it's coming from. My husband and I are well educated and know that's just not how mice work. The landlord doesn't want to pay an exterminator, and they don't believe the issue is as bad as it is. It's time for a little malicious compliance. A night or 2 later, we get a mouse. We put it in a garbage can in the tub until morning. Unfortunately, the little guy doesn't make it through the night. In the morning, we bag our friend and head up to the leasing building. The apartment manager is there, as are several families waiting to begin a tour of the complex. We explain to our landlord about the now 17 mice and how we're now supposed to personally deliver each mouse to her. She looks at my husband, horrified, grabs her cell phone, and heads to a back room. We can hear her screaming at the maintenance guy about his request. In the meantime, we're explaining to her potential tenants the issues we've been facing. A couple minutes later, she returns, tosses the mouse in the garbage, and says they'll be paying a professional exterminator to take a look at the building. The exterminator found hundreds of entry points, which get taken care of. That was the last mouse we ever had in that apartment. Throw your trash in my yard? Enjoy moving. My now ex-neighbor was pretty trashy. Cars sitting on blocks in the yard, cigarettes hanging out of her mouth while she was pregnant, and blasting Kid Rock. Well, this lady decided that paying $1 per trash bag was just too much. Our township will only pick up your trash if it is in one of the approved purple bags though, so normal trash bags will just be left behind. The trash truck drives right past them. Her solution? Buy normal trash bags at the dollar store and have her 8-year-old toss them over the fence into my yard. Now their trash is my problem. After confronting her, she just laughed, so I called the cops. They said that since the kid was so young and there was no proof his parents told him to do it, there was nothing that they could do. So this went on for about 4 months. Me taking the bags of trash they toss into my yard, wrapping them in purple bags that I paid out of pocket for, and putting them out to the curb. Pretty annoying. Not to mention the extra $3 or so a week I'm spending on trash bags. I'm slowly growing to hate this lady. It was annoying at first, but I was getting mad. Mind you, I own my home and she was just renting hers. So I get a hold of their landlord and I offer to buy the house for a decent amount above market value, 17%. He jumps at the offer, and soon I'm the proud owner of the house next door to me. Sure, it cost me $71,000, but what price do you put on peace of mind? The very first thing I did was serve them an eviction notice, in person, across the same fence that they like to throw trash over. That was 31 days ago. As of today, the unit is empty. I don't know where they went, but they're someone else's problem now. All because she didn't want to pay for her own trash bags. I think I'm going to knock that house down and make my yard bigger. I've been wanting to put in a handball court. Note for the profile stalkers, This is not the same neighbor with the husky. I like those neighbors. Am I the jerk for exposing my ex to his mother? I, 45 female, am currently divorced from my ex, Thomas, 47 male, of 30 years. We ended up seeing a lawyer to help with dividing stuff. Everything was pretty much wrapped up till he said he no longer wanted any part of our kids' lives, who are 5 and 12. I didn't argue with him about it since I already know what it's like having a parent who doesn't want you around or want to be part of your life. I asked what he wanted me to tell the kids, and he just said, "Whatever you think is best, I don't care. I don't want to be a parent anymore." Everything was in agreement and signed with no fuss. A few weeks later, I get a call from my ex-mother-in-law asking if we could meet each other. When I came over, she broke down crying and begging to let my ex see his kids again. I was confused about what she meant because not once did he contact me after meeting the lawyer. She went on about how my ex said he really missed them and that I was being a petty jerk for taking full custody and that he was crying for days about it. I told her my version of events and she called it BS, saying her son wouldn't lie, especially not about his kids. Then I decided to call him in front of her. He didn't know she and I were meeting that day. I said, "Hey, your son has a soccer game in a few days," which he did, and I was wondering if you wanted to go. I know he'd really love it and he'd be happy to see you. He instantly said, "No, I already said I'm not doing this anymore." I raised my voice a bit, saying, "Well, what about holidays and birthdays? Because we never discussed any of it and your family might want to see them." He just said, "My family already thinks they aren't mine anyways, so it doesn't matter." I asked, "Well, how do you think this is going to affect Denise, his mom? She's over the moon about them." He just said, "She loves me more than the kids, so I doubt this will be an issue for her." After a bit more talking, we finally hung up. Ex-mother-in-law was straight-faced and nodded at everything that just happened, saying, okay." She asked me to leave and said we would be in touch. Later that day, I got a call from my ex saying how it's my fault he was kicked out of his mom's house and possibly will be taken off her will. Also, that none of his family members will talk to him because of what ex-mother-in-law heard. He threw a lot of insults at me before I hung up, and now him and his mates keep calling and texting me. My friend is saying I shouldn't have said anything in the first place and I ruined his life. Edit. Yes, I plan to let Denise see the kids because I know she just wants to give them the world along with the rest of his family. Second edit. I want to address something because this keeps coming up and I can't keep up with everyone. Due to actions he and I took when we were younger, my Christian parents thought it would be best he and I be married at the time. Not the jerk. He had the right to sign off his rights. He did not have the right to paint you in a bad light and make you look to be at fault and evil or manipulative. That's defamation of character. You had the right to set the record straight. His mom had the right to go no contact with her son, a grown man who didn't want contact with his actual kids. Sounds like he's getting a taste of his own medicine, aka karma. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.